Thanks for tuning in, landing here on Planet SynthWorld with your host DJ Nomad. And I'm thrilled to have yet another UK-based artist, kind of darker, experimental style artist, Kasha Mour, aka Dan. Dan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I want to ask you, I want to get you, I know, the UK, not massive country, but still lots of places you could be, and your music goes all over the place. So we want to get you centered here. Where are you in the UK?
So at the moment, I'm in sort of South London. It's an area called Clapham. I'm actually moving. I'm in the process of moving now. There's
Hmm.
boxes all behind me, but I'm moving to sort of central London. Um, so yeah, but I've grown up in the south of England, so my hometown was sort of just outside of London. It's a small village called Bishop Stortford.
Ooh.
Um, no one's going to know where that is, but it's yeah, very small sort of village.
Yeah, I've heard fantastic things about the London music scene. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think to some degree, some of what, your visuals and stuff like that are, I can see that coming from like small town kind of person, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like so since I've moved, it's there's been a bit of like an adjustment because I'm from the village I'm from is kind of more rural countryside.
Yep. Mhm.
Um, so I've been yeah, I mean, there's been a few projects where I've been trying to sort of reflect the countryside that I'm used to.
Yeah,
So
like even your music video "Gone," one of your more recent singles, right? Yeah,
yeah,
I mean maybe less of the countryside, but like you have those like kind of abandoned looking buildings and like very open and not much going on out there kind of thing. I feel like I've seen a lot of like I've mentioned to you like darker hip hop artists and stuff that use
yeah,
visuals like that. So let me ask you real quick, since we're on the topic of London. I always feel like where people come from, that has some may have some effect on their music. Do you feel like where you grew up affected your sound at all?
yeah, I'd say definitely. Um, so like I was there for the majority of my life in Bishop Stortford, and yeah, I mean, it's just more, like I said, more countryside vibes, I guess. So
Mm.
I think it's like whenever you grow up in a place that's a bit more isolated, you sort of there wasn't many people that were into electronic music or much of a scene where I grew up.
Mm.
So it was like sort of down to me, I guess, in a way to sort of discover electronic music online, um, and
Mm.
then sort of build the sound that I wanted to make through that. And like my family was quite musical as well, so I always had music around me. But yeah, in terms of the actual area, there wasn't too much going on, wasn't too many gigs or things happening in that town.
Mm.
So I think probably yeah, made my music become a bit more introspective, maybe. When I grew up, I was also into metal, and
I could
that
see
when I was
that.
younger, yeah, like when I was sort of well, still into it now, but when I was sort of 18, that age, was really into it at school. So I mean, I've always been like into sort of darker sounds, I guess, and trying to represent that in my music, I guess.
And honestly, hearing the new metal influence in your music is kind of there. Like, so many of those bands, Korn, Slipknot, right? Like, there's a very like experimental kind of like lack of fear of just be doing what you want to do and making mistakes or whatever it is, right? This freeness
Yeah.
that I love about your music, and it's part of the reason why I've been dying to have an experimental style artist, if you will. I hope it fits you fairly well. It feels like experimental is kind of where you land. Would you say that's accurate?
Definitely. I mean, I think the reason I want to make music is to just half of it is just to experiment and try new things. So I think definitely I fall into that category. Yeah, I wouldn't really say I usually make a song and think, oh, this is going to be this style. I usually just sort of, I guess, wing it and see where the song evolves. from that point on. So I guess, yeah, like intrinsically I am experimental, I guess. Yeah.
How did you get into, producing and that whole thing?
Um, in the UK, we have a thing called BTEC, which is it's kind of like the thing you do before university, like a 2-year course you can do. And I studied music performance, and I was in a few bands there, which didn't really go anywhere. It was more just for fun. And they
What
were
do you
kind of
play,
like,
by the way? What instrument were you playing?
I played drums mainly, it's the main one, but I
Okay.
did learn guitar, so I sort of swapped those two out in various bands. And then after college, the BTEC, I went to university to study songwriting and music production was the degree. And so that was great. I mean, I met loads of people on that course, and it was just a great time, really. It was really informative, I guess. I learned all of the different tools you can use for music production, and I did a bit of like mixing for bands while I was there. But I think that kind of when I was on that course, it kind of I left behind the want to be in a band a bit, and it focused me more on production because I mean that was the whole course. That's what it was about, really. There were other courses where you could be in bands, but the one I was on was mainly about mixing and mastering and production. So I think that really like just focused my mind on yeah pursuing production in some form. Yeah, and just I guess continuing to do that rather than being bands.
Yeah, it sounds like it really influenced a pivot for you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And pivoting to like the solo venture, which is actually what I wanted to ask you about, what we're here for, which is Kasha Mour, right?
yeah.
So yeah, like how did you come up with the name, I guess? Let me ask you that.
I sort of just came up with it to encapsulate my sound, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, I mean, originally when I was making music, I kind of wanted it to be um, lo-fi, but also highly sort of technical, more IDM sound. And it was kind of like a sound that I didn't really think I'd heard yet with like my earlier, like my Team EP is kind of what I was trying to do. And for whatever reason, I was just coming up with names, and it basically is a combination of cash and amour, the word for love. But yeah, I mean, I kind of changed it to look like a name, basically, and I felt like the sound of it represented the sound I was making.
Well, and I will say you mentioned kind of like the technical aspect to the music. I think that's one of the things that's so awesome about your style, which is that you kind of bring so many of these like experimental and ambient elements, but for at least a good chunk of your songs, there is still a groove to it to some degree. There is still I don't know, there's a groove maybe not be the right word, but it's still I think more palatable to like most people than a lot of the experimental music that I listen to and some of the IDM as well, which I love. I feel like your style and your music encapsulates, which, and it looks like you're around my age. So I think I'm on somewhere there, which is like this, the anxiety, the stress, the overstimulation, the changes that have happened in our lifetime that so many younger people have experienced in their life and going on right now. I mean, do you feel like your music really touches on a lot of that, or am I kind of
I think, yeah, I mean, like I guess with all electronic music, there's always that influence of what technology is available like to us. So I guess maybe subconsciously as well, like my music's always, I guess, reflecting like I guess a disconnect between what we see online and in real life.
yeah.
I suppose and it's not like I'm writing music with that in mind, I guess. It's just, I guess it's just a feeling that's happening at the moment where, everyone spends a lot of time online, um, and maybe not so much experiencing life in person. So I suppose with songs like Gone and things like that there, and maybe some of my ambient stuff is kind of like representing, I guess, a sadness, I guess, in terms of how everyone's feeling with spending so much time online and maybe not giving attention to real things. So I suppose if there's one
Sure.
underlying trend with my music, it would be that.
Yeah, like the corrosion of the human experience, essentially.
Yeah, I think yeah, as happy as that is.
Yeah, no, but again, I think that's, I think every generation has their challenges that they have to deal with, and we have lots of them, but I think that's one of the biggest ones for us is how do we rebalance I mean, we're using technology right now, right? We are so dependent on it, but how do we rebalance our lives so that the human experience is not so corroded, I think is the right word, or tainted on some level. It's just not as I'm with you. I feel that strain in my heart.
I agree, and I mean, I did spend some time. I mean, I was born in '97, so
Okay,
and I
just a
like
few years younger than me. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I had a I have a few two older siblings, brother and a sister, so they definitely influenced my musical taste, like I mentioned earlier, and
Mhm.
also the technology I was exposed to. Like my brother still had a tape cassette player and things like that.
Nice.
I also inherited the tape cassette player. So it's like, and then I mean, some people growing up now don't know what a tape player is. So, so
Yeah.
I feel grateful to have that experience, and it's like that does influence my music as well because with some of my songs, I run them through tape to get that sort of, the lo-fi aesthetic.
Hmm.
And definitely, like you're saying, it's like growing up from the 90s to now, you can sense like the change of technology and, you know, coming from more of an offline world to like more of an online world. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
And some of the like dystopic themes, right? And I want to pivot for a second here, not fully, but I want to get into your first album because we've tracked kind of the beginning of your music career and how you got into producing. Now, Kasha Mour, and then your first, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, your first like full release, the album Form, 2021, so about 4 years ago. So we've got some time that's passed now to reflect and think about. So I'm wondering if you can kind of, just generally speak to that album, where you were and then and how you've changed over these last few years as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that album was like I'd finished university a few years before I released that. Basically, after I finished university, that's when I started really trying to create a sound.
Hmm.
So I guess that album was music I'd made just after finishing university up until 2021. So I finished university in 2018. So it's like, again, very experimental, I'd say. I was still learning production at the time, I'd say. So I think there's a lot of variety on it in terms of what I was going for, which I guess I still do have variety in the music I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different beats happening. Um, there's some more like on the beat type music, and then there's some more off-kilter stuff.
Yeah. Slower stuff, dark
Yeah,
stuff, some stuff that's not more ambient and softer a little bit.
yeah,
I think that album really showcased your range and your potential
yeah,
range as an artist.
yeah. I mean, thanks. I appreciate it. I think also the reason I called it Form was I knew at the time that I hadn't fully come up with a sound, so this album was me forming what I was attempting to make in the future. I mean, when I release music, I sort of look at what connects the songs together before I release them. So
Hmm.
with Form, I guess there's less of that because it was a collection of songs, and there were songs that I liked, so I just wanted to put them out there, and that was the obviously the debut. So just wanted to get out there for that. But with Dreamwear, I guess that one, the idea was when I made the album, well, the EP, sorry, it was I was making a lot of music at night because I was working a full-time job, and by the time I'd got home and sort of finished my, you know, all my chores and stuff, basically the only time I had was sort of like 9 p.m. onwards. So I would end up making music into like the early hours of 1, 2 a.m. And like I feel like it affected the sound because it was a lot of the sounds on it are very wonky and sort of lo-fi. So I mean, yeah, the idea behind that was just it was linked together by this idea that I was ma making music sort of whilst nearly falling asleep, basically. So that's why I titled it Dreamwear, just because it's like a combination of dreaming and software. And yeah, I mean that's that's kind of the concept behind that. Like I said, I wasn't making the music with a concept initially.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of just happened after that. I realized, oh, that makes sense for these to go together. They kind of have a similar sound. Um, I feel like together. And I mean, I have released some newer music, like my ambient album Drift Tapes. That's more of a concept album. It's sort of linked together. I wanted it to be like every song was a chapter in a journey. Um, so that's the only album I've really made with a concept before I made it. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I had that concept in mind already, and I made the songs after that. Um, so yeah, like every song on Drift Tapes is a journey through a kind of made up world, basically. But I suppose the running concept in my albums, like in another way, is definitely dreams and like hypnagogic states of consciousness as well.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm interested in that sort of stuff and exploring music, like what music would sound like in a dream, kind of that sort of idea.
We've kind of dodged around. You talked about your production stuff, and we've kind of dodged around the like technical side of that, which is, what's your DAW? Give me maybe just your favorite plugin if you have one. And are you, do you lean more VS? I'm gonna guess you're more VST guy than analog, but do you have analog gear? Like, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I use Ableton. That's just what I've always used since university.
Hmm.
Um, Mainly started using it because I think it's very versatile in terms of what you can do with, especially with electronic music. Like I think it's
Yeah.
definitely the go-to. Yeah, definitely is probably the Prophet 5 by Arturia. It's like
Hmm.
my go-to synth. And the reason for that is basically when I was still learning about synths, um, I just learned subtractive synthesis. So it's obviously one of the most basic forms of synthesis with the filter.
Hmm.
Um, and two oscillators. And the Prophet, it just allowed me to create my own sounds more easily, really, without having to use presets and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's just always, and I've got loads of, preset sounds on Ableton now, so I can just jump in on Ableton and load up a sound that I've made, years ago.
And tweak
And
it.
yeah, yeah, I do have two synths, Behringer Neutron, which was
Hmm.
I got it because it's got the semi-modular section on it, so you can sort of mess around with that. And I wanted to just see what I could create with that. I have used that on a few songs, but I do love synths. I mean, analog synths, purely from the fact of it's once it's done, it's done. You put it into Ableton, and you can't go back and change it usually because once you've turned the synth back on again, it's obviously changed. I think I use both really, but I mean, I've started using some newer VSTs like the Arturia Mini Brute as well. And some of them are really good. They sound really good. So I think eventually it's going to get to the point where they will sound as good as the original analog synths.
Do you have an artist that you can think of, maybe like you're the one top one you could think of that's like kind of in the same wavelength as yourself, the same kind of area musically, electronically, that you think is also underappreciated and not getting, any love?
I mean, the only real other, I mean, I've done a few collaborations, but the other guy is Youth 83. One of my biggest songs is with him, Dan. Well, we go back to university. We met at university.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
Youth 83, so I didn't know. That's so cool. Wow.
yeah. And I think we always wanted to make music together. But we obviously after university, it's hard to keep in touch sometimes. But I think it was a few years after university, I think he got in touch with me and we threw some demos back and forth, and then we sort of ended up with Eyes, and that's doing really well. So happy for that. But also his music in general is amazing. It's like really awesome synthwave stuff.
Hmm.
So, yeah, if anyone's listening and wants some cool synthwave, I would definitely check out Youth 83.
Okay, Youth 83, everybody. That's a great one. It looks like, as far as I can tell, not a ton of collaborations. So I guess what is your feeling about collaborating with other artists generally? And then who is like your number one, if you could choose any artist to collab with, who's the one you would pick?
It's something that is so great if you can find if you find a good collaborator, obviously. It depends. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the more the better probably for me at this time, like in my musical career. But I mean, I've done a lot of solo stuff, just me, you know, purely myself in the studio with my head down, which is great. Obviously, like sometimes you need to do that. Just like I said, with Form, it was just me finding my sound in many ways.
Yeah.
But I think now that I've kind of developed a sound, I want to see how it works with other artists and explore that more. So, but I mean, it's great. I mean, I've done a few collaborations with um like I did one with a rapper from the UK, Lay Samp. I did a remix of his song, and that was just really fun because I think sometimes if you explore a genre that you've not done before, you sometimes making stuff you would never have made before. So it's always fun to just, I guess, push yourself out of your comfort zone and explore new genres. So I think that's the best way to do collaboration is to maybe work with someone that allows that, allows you to explore different genres.
Yeah.
Um,
And grow
yeah,
as an artist, right? I feel like that would help you grow as
yeah,
a
no, yeah, for sure. And it does every time I work with other people, I always go, oh, this sounds good. I don't think I ever would have made this if I hadn't have, talked to this guy. So yeah,
Mhm.
pretty helpful.
And who would I know it's hard to narrow it down, but dream collab partner, you've got to have someone. I
Yeah.
mean, that's at the top of your mind that you're like, yeah, I would love to
Yeah,
work.
I mean, I think my one artist that's like I just think is always amazing is One O Tricks Point Never. He's a synth
Hmm.
guy from the US. But I've been following his music for ages. It's very experimental, but he's worked on a few film scores and things like that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, he's obviously a massive artist. And I wouldn't expect it, but yeah, as a dream collaborator, then that would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay. He's listening. Hopefully he'll listen. I've never heard of that artist. I'll have to check it out. So you'll have to text me
Yeah, he's
that.
been going for a while. But yeah, maybe still quite underground, I guess, in many ways.
Pivot here. You were talking about pivoting to your most recent full-length release, Dreamwear, which was last year. I don't know. To me, it felt like such a definitive step in the direction of, professionalism. Everything felt more cohesive. The quality of the sound production was better. It just felt like a really good step in the right direction for you. Do you feel like that album has kind of catalyzed some energy for you to like kind of keep pushing forward and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, so was it Dreamwear? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
how was the
Yeah.
response to Dreamwear? Did you get, m much of a response from
Um,
community?
I mean, I think there was one track that got a little bit more response, which was Celestia.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, but I mean, it's difficult because sometimes when you make like experimental music like that, I guess it's it's not really a genre to use as like there's not really a community to present it to sometimes, like with
Yeah, it's very
that.
disjointed in the experimental.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's because it's experimental, so there's not really anything, um, yeah, linking it to a big genre. So
yeah.
maybe some tracks will have like elements of genres, but overall it's kind of like a bit not necessarily in a bad way, but it is a bit disjointed because it's exploring different genres. So it's yeah, I mean it I guess in that way I kind of was like I released it and it's obviously lots of people did enjoy it. But I was kind of like, oh, I should maybe release something that's very specifically in one genre and just see how that does. So that's why I followed it up with drift tapes with the ambient stuff because at least
Mhm.
that's like very cohesive as one thing. So I guess if Dreamwear helped in one way, it was definitely improved my production skills in terms of things like because I master everything as well. So a lot of that was like trying to work on the mastering and sort of get it kind of as loud as possible without, it sounding horrible. Um, so just yeah, working on like pure technical skills like mixing and mastering was great for that.
So before we get to your next stuff, though, I want to ask you just to kind of get your mind in that place. Do you have anything? Do you have anything that kind of gets you in that nostalgic, reflective mood to write?
Sometimes I'll look at a visual, like I've got a few art books that I like to just open and look at a page of something that, triggers an emotion and I'll try and go from there, maybe. Just from like it could be anything, so an environment or a photograph or something like that. Um, just as like a prompt, I guess, in a way to get me sort of going, I guess.
And d do these visuals that we've seen, I mean, I'm not sure if I didn't get a chance to like scrub YouTube as much and whether you had done a lot of visual stuff for your music, kind of some of your more previous music, but Gone is a really good example, right? It seems like you're leaning in that kind of gothic, dark hip hop. The guys that remind me of is Suicide Boys. I don't know if you know who they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
It's that
Yeah,
kind of style. Dark. It's like what's it called? Like horrorcore, horror rap or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Does that come later on from the music, or do you have that in your head while you're writing, kind of?
I think it does link back to my like the metal influence with it. Um,
Hmm.
and I've always got that like in the back of my mind, like I just like darker music, I guess. Find it interesting to explore stuff like that because it's not mainstream. Most people in pop don't make dark music really. So I think
Right.
like if I'm gonna make any music that's unique, I guess I want to explore that sort of side of stuff, like whether it's dark lyrics or more of a dark tone to the song, the sound of the music.
I'm with you. I just feel like the world needs artists like yourself who contrast that, which is fun. I love that stuff with, the kind of embracing imperfection and embracing um, darkness and all that stuff that you're, maybe hiding. I want to move on to, or not move on, but touch on like some of your last more recent releases and whether that's kind of the direction that you're going. You got Lifetime, which I love. That was that really kind of almost, almost solemn ambient track. I absolutely love that. You had brought in some drums in there as well to kind of give some life to it, but love that. Signal was amazing. I had that on one of my more recent shows, and then Gone. Obviously, I think that's the hot kind of single. And Capacity. I mean, just great. Again, great variety. All kind of pointing in the right same direction though, which is great. Is this kind of the future you think for where you're
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, definitely. I know like these tracks are quite they're a bit varied and eclectic in many ways, but I think I'm like yeah, talking about the visual side of it. I'm definitely looking into more sort of linking things together with a visual, sort of that frame of mind in the future. Um, because as much as I do like making one genre of music, I just don't think that's what I'm best at really. I just like exploring other genres.
Mhm.
So these new tracks that I've put out, they're kind of all different in terms of their genre, but I wanted them to all be linked by this sort of VHS aesthetic. Um,
Yeah.
why they all had that sort of cover, um, the cover art, and then I've accompanied them with VHS visuals as well.
That's very exciting, and that's exactly what I would have, recommended you do as an artist is figure out if you want to do it, how to build a kind of visual world for what your music is
Yeah,
expressing. So
definitely.
you've talked about kind of the future release. We've got an album coming. I don't know if you want to touch on that anymore, but I want to ask you about, I think, you kind of hinted at it a little bit, and you talked about your past being in bands. I want to know whether once this visual comes together and this third big release comes, is there any chance that you might consider performing live?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I think it's like with every electronic artist, it's always hard to know how to do it
Yeah.
right in the right way.
Yep.
It's like a lot of my music is obviously it's you know heavily produced, so it's hard to reproduce live. Um, but I'm definitely looking into it. I mean, I do have lots of little live equipment and things like that. What I did instead recently is on YouTube, I've done a few just ambient guitar like improvisation things, which is not it's not music I've released. It's more of just an improv session, using a few synths and just playing guitar and sort of looping everything.
So you're
Um,
dabbling already.
okay. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, definitely dabbling is the right word for it because
Yeah.
yeah, it's still early days.
The one that comes to mind that I would recommend watching videos of if you haven't already is Shigeto.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he's super talented and he is shows you how I know his music is probably a little more conducive to live performance, honestly,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
he shows you how you can make experimental music and do everything on your by yourself on stage and make it a legit experience for the audience than you
I think
just
I've yeah, I think I've seen one of his videos on YouTube of him performing live.
yeah, so he'll play the synths, right, and then he walks over
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the drum beat, then he goes and plays saxophone, whatever. Like
yeah. No,
it
that sort of thing is great. Yeah,
I know you don't have like a massive catalog, but you still have quite a bit to pick from. And if you could pick three Kasha Mour songs that kind of, for you, Desert Island, but maybe like really encapsulate yourself as an artist, what would they be?
I'll do my favorite songs from other artists, I guess.
Oh, okay. I love that.
There's an artist Lapalux that I really like. Uh, know him. He's my brother's longtime friend, so I know him. Well, I've met him before, but yeah, I mean, he's got so many amazing songs. I'd probably go with Midnight Peelers. It's very cool, synthy, like um, kind of IDM track. I guess Clams Casino, All I Need is another great one. Like more obviously lo-fi hip hop stuff.
Hmm.
Another one, an artist I really love, I've been getting into recently is George Clanton,
Hmm.
and his song "Justify Your Life." I think they're the top three.
Justify your life. Yeah, I saw him live 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah, yeah. I went to see him in London in I can't remember the name of the venue. Something Underground, Village Underground in Camden. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't
no, they're
got
really.
a Clanton out there. And he's a great artist in general. Anybody's listening, Shigeto is a really good experimental, maybe IDM, but definitely experimental electronic artist. I don't know if he still makes music or not, but um, anywho, a lot of really exciting things for you, and I will definitely be keeping up in September with your releases and anything coming before that. And if you ever need help with your visuals, let me know. I mean, I don't, have some of that equipment you're talking about, but I'd be happy to pitch in at minimum, and I certainly will be making promo visuals for your show. So
Oh,
feel
thanks a lot. Yeah, no, definitely.
yeah. And that's, honestly, I feel like I could chat with you for another hour and grab a coffee or a pint or something like that. But, we're at the end of the questions and I won't let you go enjoy your Saturday. But before I go, for all the SynthWorld listeners that are captivated by your music, where can they go to get more Kasha Mour in their life?
Yeah, I mean Spotify, Bandcamp, YouTube. Like I said, I'm doing the videos on YouTube now, the live performances. Um, so that's something to watch, yeah, in between albums. Um, yeah, basically everywhere. Casha.Mour on Instagram. Um, and yeah, new album coming soon, hopefully.
Well,
So
that's it. Yeah, that's it, everybody. You heard it. New album, Spotify, all sounds like most of the places you can find music, you're gonna find
all
kind
of
of.
the above, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's gonna be experimental, kind of ambient, darker synth artist Dan, aka Kasha Moore. It was just a pleasure to chat with you. I appreciate your time. Do you have any final parting words?
It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot. I'll be tuning into the radio show later on.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a pleasure again. Send some love to the UK from the US. Major apologies for how crazy we're acting right now.
Yeah, hope you had a good 4th of July.
It was one of the saddest Fourth of Julys of my life, if I'm being honest with you. But
Yeah,
we're holding on just barely.
one's better. Yeah,
Exactly. I'm an optimist, and I believe, sometimes the only way to get to the light is through the darkness. So you got to go through some dark
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
deal with some things, and I think that's where we are. We're at some growing pains here, and
yeah. Growing pains. Yeah,
big ones. But I'm excited for the future, and excited for your future. And until I see you next time, stay retro, man.
yeah. Thanks a lot.